Thank you all for joining us for today's chapter leaders call. We have some really great content to share with you all this afternoon. But just before we jump into the main piece of our focus topic today, which is the Vision Warrior program, I wanted just to touch on a few housekeeping pieces and a few items of interest that might be helpful for this group. So first off, as many of you have probably received communications already about, we will be hosting our Visions Conference in 2026 in Texas this year. So super excited for that. We're really, wanting people to go ahead and get registered for that early. And with that, us wanting to register everyone early, we have a promo, the early bird promo that is running right now until the 22nd of this month. So you all have a couple more days to take advantage of 20% off of the registration fees to attend the Visions Conference. So if you're interested and hesitating and thinking, oh, maybe I'll wait until closer or see if there's another promo, I will say that what I've heard, just to give you some insider advice, is that this will be the best discount that we will offer for this year's conference at that 20%. In years past, it's been more like 10, I think maybe even 15% for these discounts. So definitely take advantage of this one if you're able to. And then another piece of housekeeping I wanted to add on here today, and Dan, feel free to come off of mute if you'd like to share a little bit more about this, but Dan Day shared with our staff about a week or so ago of a program called I Can Connect program. So Dan, would you want to share with us a little bit about what this program is?
Sure, thanks. Thanks, Bailey, and good afternoon, everybody. Yeah, so the federal government through the FCC has a program now called, and I don't know how long it's been around, but it's called the National Blind Deaf Equipment Distribution Program, or as Bailey said, I Can Connect is what it typically goes by. But the idea is to distribute what they call distance equipment. I'm not sure, or long distance equipment. I'm not sure exactly what they mean by that, but it's pretty general to people who have combined deaf blindness. So, of course, that's going to be of interest to quite a few people, I think, with Usher syndrome. I don't know too many details about the program other than I do know there is some means testing there. In other words, there's some income level that you qualify under. But other than that, I'm not sure what the other qualifications are. But I do know that one person on our chapter here in Orlando told me that she got both a computer and a new smartphone through the program. And one of the organizations, I think maybe the non-government organization that's coordinating it, and that's how they're doing it. They're going through local non-government organizations to administer it. But one of them is Perkins, and I believe sort of at least in the email I got, the lead organization is Perkins up in Boston. So there is a URL that describes the program, and then there's contact information for the person up in Boston that you can call. If you're interested in the program or know someone is, you can refer them there. So I know we can, either Bailey or myself, if you email me, we can give you that contact information if you want to pursue it or give it to someone else who does. So that's it. Thank you, Bailey.
Yeah, of course. Thanks so much for sharing that, Dan. And if any of you all are run across any unique resources or things, or topics that you all think that this group, as well as the other local chapter communities, would benefit from, feel free to send them either to myself or your community manager, and we'd be more than happy to share those on this call, because I think that, like this resource that Dan shared with us today, is something that can benefit all of us. So the next thing is I wanted to hand it over to our community manager in the South, Ashley, to talk a little bit about a mentor program with Duke University, and just share with you all, just in case you would be interested in taking part in this. So Ashley, I'd love for you to share a little bit more with us.
Sure. Thank you, Bailey. I appreciate it. Good afternoon, everyone. In my area, I have Duke University, and I have the privilege to work with my Triangle chapter, which includes a couple of students from Duke. And one of those students has a connection to our mission and has created a program that we call Own Your Light. And it's really, we're trying to work to develop a mentor-mentee program. Very difficult for me to say that. I keep messing up mentee. But it's, again, working with and identifying, it's brand new. We're working to try to identify some mentors along with some mentees that are impacted by loss of vision, low vision, inherited retinal diseases, where it's a 10-week program. And that sounds like a lot, but it's not overly evasive. It's a 45-minute virtual call every week over that 10-week period between the mentor and the mentee. And it's really kind of helping develop broader insights and support for individuals that sometimes can feel isolated or run into issues most of us that can see don't have. So the students have, there's a very comprehensive document that I know Bailey and I talked about sending out to everyone after this. So I'm going very high level here. But really we're in the early part of this and really want to try to have our mentors and our mentees established. It could be across the country starting in August. So we can do this 10-week program. And at the end of this, of course, it's the value to the mentor and the mentee, but it also, we hope, will kind of create a program or a narrative that can be used outside of our organization in schools, businesses, churches, and communities, where, again, we continue to kind of provide that support besides the research and the medical aspect, but how do we support our patients going through this and our community members? So we will get this information out to everyone. It will have a contact number for Ritvik, our leader of this program, who is the student at Duke University. It is very comprehensive. Bailey can attest to that. And when you see this document, there will be no detail that we have not covered so far in this. But we would really like to ask for the support of everybody on this call at the various chapters to help us to identify. We're looking for 10 mentors and 10 mentees. And again, trying to pair those up with, type of low vision, preference, that kind of stuff. So again, we can combine people who maybe are not familiar with each other, but we see the great value in this. So again, we're right on that cusp of getting us ready. And like I said, more information will come. So Bailey, I hope that was okay. And if there's anything I missed, please feel free to share that as well.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. Any questions for Ashley? And like Ashley mentioned, that we will be sending more information in the follow-up meeting minutes about that as well, if you are interested.
So, Bailey and Ashley, this is Dan. I sort of quick question is, I think you mentioned a student at Duke. Is it a student that's maybe getting a master's in counseling or something like that? It's not tied in at all with like their counseling curriculum or something like that. What is the tie-in link with Duke there?
Yes, Dan, that's a great question. There's a couple of students. I'm working mainly with kind of like the student driving the program, Ritvik, and he has a cousin that has low vision. So this is something kind of understanding from their connection, some of the challenges and struggles that his 17-year-old cousin is going through. Ritvik is actually a researcher at Duke. He is going to go into this field, a research field specifically in and vision. So that's kind of also his other connection. So he's kind of multi-layered when it comes to his involvement with our mission. But he is very intelligent, that's smarter than I am, and very detailed. But he has experienced kind of that disconnect that his cousin has gone through and felt that this might be an avenue that we would have a better opportunity to pursue.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you, Dan. Tim, I see your hand up.
Oh, Tim, I believe you're muted.
I didn't mean to put my hand up, but I will. I mean, I know Ritvic as well because I'm in the Triangle chapter. But yeah, he's got a ton of energy, and I think this is going to be a fantastic program that he's put together.
Thank you, Tim.
Yeah, just a quick question, because I know we've tried to do something similar here, but not through the university or anything, which is probably a good way to approach it. But are there, so would the mentees, I'm sorry, the mentors be people like us who have been, so
Yeah.
my question would be because we were partly doing this through CABVI and seeing if there was a path toward trying to set something up through them or some other way, some other means. But are there any concerns about mentors giving bad advice or qualifications for people to be mentors or anything like that could potentially have some liability I hate to say it, I hate to be that person, but typically am not concerned about it, but I just want to make sure that we're thinking about it from our perspective. Is there any potential for that?
That's a great question, Tim. Lots of Tims on here, so I apologize if I get all my Tims mixed up. But no, what we're kind of doing to start this, Tim, is getting all the mentors and mentees together first to establish kind of those boundaries, those guidelines. What we want to touch before any mentor and mentee ends up in a conversation on their own and a 45-minute or an hour session as they go through this 10-week program. I think, again, that pairing that we're going to do at the beginning is critical to kind of match what we feel based on, vision level as well as age appropriateness. So try to get as many of those factors. Some of this conversation started before I got here, but I believe in kind of those earlier discussions about this. Those items you brought up were stuff that we have reviewed, but we will still be very hands-on in that to ensure that we are not opening ourselves up to any potentials that could, cause the program to not be as successful as it possibly could. So, if there's things that you have run across that would be helpful to share, I think that's good. But again, we've got to do some additional vetting for that, which we'll hope to do prior to before we officially start. If that
Okay, yeah,
helps.
I was going to say one of our former chapter leaders who had moved to Northern Ohio, so she's still kind of connected to our chapter, but she's not, is somebody who used to work for the state of Ohio, and she's done a lot of mentoring over the years. If she's interested, I think she would be a good person to at least talk
Yeah.
to. Yeah,
That would be great. That would be
Lisa Kim.
wonderful.
So yeah, I'll maybe connect you to.
Yeah, that would be wonderful. I think
Yeah.
anyone that has any guidance or additional information, it'll be beneficial to this group. They are very engaged in this, as my Tim in Triangle area said, and they want it to be very successful, and they want it to not just be this 1 10-week program. They want it to be replicable and continue past this point. So, and of course, we organizationally want to make sure that we adhere to all of our guidelines and standards as we have individuals interacting with each other that may not be interacting on a daily basis. So that would be wonderful, Tim Smith.
Very good.
I
Thank
have
you.
one.
Bailey, I'll add one more quick thing to Ashley's comments around that is I do recall in some of the earlier conversations that this group had even talked about doing some background checks for the mentors, and so that way that there's some more of a sense of security and checking to make sure that it's not going to put any mentors in a sticky situation.
Absolutely. Thank you, Bailey, for bringing that up. And like I said, this is like 4 pages that he's put together. So it'll have a lot in there and just more than we could cover on this call. But if there's other things, especially from everyone that's involved, please share. The whole point is for this program to be usable and replicable throughout all of our chapters and across the country.
I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'm wondering, I've done mentoring at universities. I'm wondering, can you give a brief, like 2 or 3 line description of what you're looking for in a mentor and what you're looking for in mentees?
I absolutely can, Joe. I know we're very tight on time. If it's possible, like I said, they have listed out all of the specifics that they're looking for in kind of these 2 slides. So if that's something that we could share, if that would be okay, or I'm happy to connect with you offline with this to go over those specifically, if that would be helpful. I'm just trying to be cognizant of time. So, I mean, Bailey, I can read those off if you would like, or if we want to share the information, how would you like to proceed?
I think sharing the information will be fine.
Okay, we will share it, like I said, 4 pages, Joe. So get a coffee.
Good. This is Dan Day again. I'll just mention too, we have a trained counselor who also happens to have RP, who facilitates our support group here for the Orlando chapter. I'll certainly refer her so she can check into it. And she's, the program that was announced in May, she's one of the people who, she's registered as one of the counselors in that too. So she'd be very good, I think, if she wants to participate in that. So I will.
Absolutely. That'd be great, Dan. And I know Vic would be very receptive to having expertise and input from other individuals that have been involved in different elements of our organization, because again, the more comprehensive, the better for the outcome. So
sure,
any feedback would be greatly appreciated.
Good.
Wonderful. Thanks so much for sharing that with all of us, Ashley. And we'll make sure to get the information out to this group, because it does seem like there's definitely an appetite for this in not only the North Carolina communities, but all of our other chapters as well.
Absolutely.
So
Thank you.
yeah, no worries. So I would love for us to go ahead and jump into our meat of today's focus topic. So Erin Baranowski, who I think most of you have interacted with in some shape or form, is our program manager, and she manages our DIY initiative. So Erin is excited to come on and share with you all the Vision Warrior program that just launched.
Thanks, Bailey. Hi, everyone. Long time no see for some of you, and some nice new faces, which is always so exciting. So I am going to run through some new news, and then we can do, questions, comments, anything like that, a bit after, and we'll go from there. So I have been really looking forward to this moment for a while. One, because a lot of work has gone into it, but because I finally get to share something big that we've been working hard on behind the scenes. As Bailey said, we've officially rebranded our DIY fundraising program, and it's now called the Vision Warrior program. Very catchy. But so why the rebrand? The old DIY setup wasn't always the easiest to navigate, make sense of, or get involved with, and we knew we could do more to make the program feel fresh, inspiring, and most importantly, supportive of all the incredible things you all are doing out in the field. Vision Warrior is more than just a new name. It's a full refresh of how we show up for our volunteer fundraisers and how we look at DIY fundraising at the foundation. For everyone's reference, the old program name was Raising Our Sights. I may be biased, but I think Vision Warrior is a much cooler name. So that's where we are now. But to sum up, here's some of the new things we have going on. We've created a whole new toolkit that's easy to use, full of ideas, and gives you the templates and tips you need to plan an event or campaign from start to finish. We've introduced new categories based off of ready-to-go event guides, which is what we are basically calling just these little event cheat sheets. If you're looking for structure or inspiration, they're there and ready to go. While of course we're still holding true to my personal favorite part of DIY fundraising, which is the create your own category. That just allows each volunteer's creativity and unique passion to shine through, as well as a more structured portions of proceeds category. That's your dine to donate, going out to breweries, those kinds of things. And we've also built a stronger connection between this program and the work of local chapters, you guys. So that Vision Warrior can really feel like part of your community's fundraising plan. Everything that we've done, it's meant to be flexible, fun, and empowering, just like the energy all of you that have been involved with the program thus far bring to the movement already. So now here's where you come in. We'd love for you, our volunteer leaders, to be some of the first to officially jump in and really bring this to life, which actually, shout out to Heather Edwards. I saw she created a new fundraising page officially under the Vision Warrior program this morning or last night, maybe. So as always, Heather Edwards, my shining star. There's your shout out for the day. But anyway, whether you've done a fundraiser before or not, this is your invitation to try something new, bring back an idea you've had in your back pocket, or encourage someone else in your chapter to give it a go. Our goal is to make this feel easy, exciting, and most importantly, 100% you. So after the call, we will send you a link to the new Vision Warrior Hub, a quick overview of the toolkit, some starter ideas to get your wheels turning. Very importantly, we're here to help every step of the way. We can't wait to see what you come up with. This is all really about elevating what you're already doing, giving it a fresh, bold, new identity. We're not recreating the wheel or anything like that. When people see volunteers like you taking action, it sparks something powerful. That's the heart of Vision Warrior. It's personal, it's passionate, and it has real impact. So thank you again for everything that you've done thus far. None of this would be happening if we didn't have all of this momentum already built. I think I speak for all of us on staff when we're beyond excited to see this next chapter unfold with you guys leading the way. That is most of my highlight reel on it. If anyone has questions, comments, happy to chit chat. You will also be getting more information after the meeting. I'll take that as enthusiastic silence.
So, Aaron, this is Dan Day.
Hi, Dan.
Hi, how you been, Aaron?
Good.
Uh, just a kind of a quick question, because someone asked me this a while back. They asked if our chapter in here in Orlando, whether we would be interested in doing like a fundraising event. I think it was somebody from NFB specifically, if I remember right. It's been a while, but the concept is would we be interested in doing some kind of a fundraiser where we collaborate and somehow split the proceeds. In the past, we didn't, we just as a foundation, we stayed away from that. I suppose it raises a lot of other issues. How do you decide to split? Whether is it just 50-50? But what if somebody, what if one of the organizations contributes a lot more attendees, all that, a lot of issues. So anyway, is there a position at the moment? Would we ever collaborate with another group in putting on a fundraiser where FFB gets some of the proceeds and somehow does a split?
Yeah, absolutely. I see those occasionally. There are definitely, like some nuances and there are pros and cons to splitting. It would be the same as any other large group project. You're always going to be worried if your partner is going to put in the same amount of work and all of that. But there are definitely ways around it. Really, the biggest consideration with that is going to come down to tax receipts, and which organization is handling that part of things. But yeah, there's always discussions to be had with that, and it's definitely doable.
Okay, thanks. I'll keep it in mind. The thing doesn't come along all that often, but it's good to know if I get asked that what's something we can talk about maybe. So it's good. Thanks, Aaron.
Yeah, of course.
Any other questions for Aaron? Are any chapters planning to do any DIYs this summer or have done one that they'd like to share with the group?
We're doing a small one in the Triangle. We go see the Durham Bulls, which is our AAA baseball team, and $5 or something from every ticket goes to the foundation. Last year we had over 20 people, so I mean we're not talking a ton of money, but every little penny counts.
Hey, I love that, Tim. And not only is a little bit of a kickback coming to the foundation, but it's a nice way just to get together and hang out with others who are engaged. So I love that idea. And for others who may be interested in doing that at their local stadiums, they're pretty simple to do. If you just reach out to their info person or their, I guess, ticket office, they'll get you to the right person. But basically, all you do is say, hey, we want to donate some dollars back to this organization, and they will give you all the details on how to do so. But what they'll do is they'll increase the ticket price, like Tim said, by $5, and then people just go in and use a link to purchase their tickets using that custom link, and then they'll be able to collect that information, and then they cut a check to your organization. So it's a nice, fun way to get people doing things, but also raising a little bit of money. Great. Do we have anyone else in the community who's doing things or have found one of these DIYs to be helpful? I don't see Davida on this call today. If not, I would put her on the spot to give us an update about her brother's bike ride. But maybe Aaron, if you have any new.
Yeah, I have. Has Jonathan been talked about on this call? Do I need to give like a full background?
I think for maybe those who maybe have previously missed a call, I think a nice little background would be great for the group.
Okay, so anyone who meets Jonathan Davis or Davida in the near future, be sure to give them a world of kudos, because Davida, chapter president and all-star foundation volunteer and all-time, boss. Her brother, Jonathan Davis, just cycled across the entire country. He took on a crazy route of the Trans Am ride. He just got back about just over a week ago, and he has raised a amazing amount of money, but truthfully, the most amazing part of his ride has been the attention that he's brought to the foundation. He did a lot of outreach.
How you doing?
Oh, I think that's not a purpose. And he did a lot of outreach. He has a couple news articles. If you Google, Jonathan Davis cycling, I guarantee he'll pop up. His website, you can follow every stop that he made, which was a bit more exciting while it was happening, but still cool to go back and look at. So yeah, he just really accomplished quite a feat. And I will also say in an equally impressive way, he was inspired by another volunteer who did a similar type of adventure last summer. And there are already quite a few groups that are planning like satellite rides to continue Jonathan's fundraiser. So I don't know if anyone has it in them to cycle across the country. It really gets people going. I highly recommend it.
This is Bailey. Sorry, Erin. I don't think that I will be starting a cycling fundraiser because it's a little bit out of my skill level. But I do think that it's such a testament to what the Vision Warrior program is that it can be versatile as, hey, let's all go to a baseball game and eat some hot dogs and hang out, or I want to ride across the country on a bicycle. So you can really make this program anything you want it to be, and any interest that you have, it can be turned into a DIY through our Vision Warrior program. If there's no other questions for Erin, we will just kind of open it up for open floor discussion. If anyone has questions, if anyone has topics, wants to pick a fellow chapter leader's brain on anything, we'll open it up for discussion.
Yeah, Bailey, this is Dan again. So just a follow-up comment too on this discussion we're having about DIYs. I think those two things you mentioned too, the things that are going on, do highlight one of the keys to success to a DIY. And all of us kind of face this challenge in chapter leadership roles, and that is when we're thinking about having another event, we have to think about it in terms of what's a way of getting at a new donor base. Because if we have an event like Vision Walk, we're sort of, we're tapped out on the donors we can go to and ask to support because we solicit people for the Vision Walk practically all year long. We don't really give them much of a break from the time one Vision Walk is over with till the next one is in the planning mode. But these events, like a baseball game, your new donor base is automatically built in, and if you're cycling across America, that's a brand new donor base. So that's I think one of the things you have to think of is like, how do I come up with something that will appeal to a new donor base? And you could have a member of your chapter maybe that just has a new donor base. Like we used to do a wine tasting, and the person who used to put that on as a DIY just had a different network she could go to, and they would come to her event, but then we would still do the Vision Walk, and she even would have a team in the Vision Walk, but she had a different donor base for that. So that's something I think we all have to think about when it's a DIY event, is how do we appeal to some new donors? So just thought I'd throw that out there for thought.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, Dan, this is Erin again. I'll add on to that. When I'm talking about, people frequently come to me and are just simply, I want to do a fundraiser. What should I do? My advice is always pick the thing that you like doing the most. Whatever hobby gets you going, or whatever way you like to spend your time with family and friends, anything can be a fundraiser. And I do think that goes hand in hand with awareness as well. It doesn't need to be specifically about fundraising, but taking those moments of just the other things that you do throughout the day and what bring you the most joy. Anything can be turned into an example of how to fundraise and how to raise awareness.
Steve Soroka, I saw your hand pop up there.
I literally, Erin probably took 99% of the words I was about to say, because that's on our presentations and all our meetings. It sounds very simplistic, but we always have a big list of ideas of things to do. But the best one I always end up with is find something that you love to do and turn it into a fundraiser. And that's, we have had, as our staff knows and a lot of our volunteers, we have had some really unusual events, but they're fun. People love going to them. They're different than actually just asking people for money. Because if you can turn an event that people just think is fun, but you actually make money, that's huge. And that goes with what Dan's saying. It taps a different whole group of people that maybe would not want to go to a walk or a big dinner.
Yeah, I love that. Heather, what do you got?
Yeah, I agree with everything that's been said as far as like turning your passion into a DIY. I also wanted to mention, I think that sometimes we get really focused on like event-based DIYs, but DIYs can also be like passive DIYs. So like working with a company to have like a month where they donate, $1 of every coffee sold or something like that. And that can also, to Steve's point and Dan's point, like get people aware or like make people aware that are just going to buy something at their local coffee shop, or going to buy like a good or a bottle of wine or something like that. And it may be people who don't intend to donate to the foundation, but then they do, and then it generates interest, and you can raise awareness that way as well. Because I love events, don't get me wrong, like I like those as well because you get to meet people and I feel like you get a closer connection with them, and it has the opportunity to have conversation with people. But those can also be difficult because you are constrained by time and place and location and if people are available at that time. So just wanted to throw that out there, that I don't want us to get like too stuck on the idea of events, but it can be both as well.
Yeah, I think that's a really great point, Heather. And I'll share a quick example and then I'll hand it over to Tim Smith. But at a prior organization, there was a gentleman there who, as a DIY, he would grow his beard out all year long. And he was this big hockey player, like big burly guy. Like when you think hockey player, this is what he was. And then he would bring all of his friends and family together at the end of the year, and they would bet on how long his beard was. And throughout the year, he was collecting donation after donation, and then he would shave his whole entire beard off. Sounds weird and a little gross to me, but it worked. He raised like, gosh, I think $10,000 one year on just this silly fundraiser, but it was because it was funny. It got his friends and family laughing, but it was, like you said, Heather, it didn't have to include any brick and mortar store or any in-person event. It was just a fun way to engage people. Tim Smith, are you going to be growing your beard out next year? Is that, I see a smirk on your face.
You jumped the gun. I was going to say, what do you think? How's it coming in? I've been growing it out all year. How's it coming in?
It's fantastic. Fantastic.
No, I was just going to say, I know we've talked about this with other things, and this is a good example where I think it's helpful. I don't know if we still have anywhere where we have this list that we were keeping that it was more focused on some of our vision connections at the time, or our events, whatever we were calling them. But the idea of having a list available of fundraisers that people are doing that all of us can sort of add to and draw from would be helpful if we could coordinate that in somewhere where it's easily accessible, and if it's a spreadsheet or something that we can get to, or if it's posted online or whatever. But it'd be great. I know it's a little bit of a maintenance thing. It'd be great if it were accessible where we could just add to it and do things without one person having to be responsible for doing all that. But
Yeah, Tim, this is Erin. I agree. It is something that is kind of constantly brought up. Currently, it does kind of come down to just a manpower type of situation. My hope is that DIY events are eventually placed on the website, just like all of our other events, at a high frequency cadence. I do think in the meantime, possibly making it a bit more grassroots and going through, local managers for a list of fundraisers is definitely a possibility. So I'll brainstorm on that. Thanks for bringing that up.
sure.
Dan Day, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thanks, Bailey. Yeah, and I was thinking too about around our discussion. First of all, Steve was speaking. We mentioned Davida earlier. That got me thinking about the Lions Club, and I happen to be leaving here as soon as this meeting's over with for a Lions Club event tonight. That a DIY, there could be DIY opportunities if we can collaborate with groups like that whose mission is also vision. Now, of course, when you collaborate with another nonprofit, they're also need to raise funds for their charity as well. So there's always that. But I think groups like the Lions in the past have been really successful. So, and I know this isn't the first time we've talked about the Lions on these calls, but I think always looking for opportunities to build alliances and partnerships with organizations like that who will have you come in and be a guest speaker sometimes. And they might, when you do that, they might give you a check for a couple hundred. I've even heard somebody getting a $2,000 check for just coming in and being a guest speaker. So build those relationships too in the community, and that may lead to some DIY events or at least some additional monies that may come in from that. So that's just another thought too.
Yeah, that's a great point.
This is Joe.
Hey, Joe.
I just wanted to tag on to what Dan was saying. I've been in Lions for a long time and was president of an all-male Lions Club. But
awesome.
yeah, and I'm in talks with the people here in St. Louis. And in fact, Andrea, we had a suggestions time in our last St. Louis team meeting, and I brought up the Lions Club, so we are investigating how to work with them.
That's fantastic. Steve Soroka.
I just wanted to go back quickly what Tim was asking about. Tim, I think you were looking for, we have a list of all the different, a huge list of ideas. If anybody wants to see what that is, I believe it's still in the team captain packets that are linked on all our the front pages of all our walk sites. It's a long sheet and then several descriptions of some more details of it, but of all different ideas of various sizes of events that's available. So that's something you guys can find right now if you wanted to go on the website.
Thanks, Steve. Wasn't aware.
Bailey, can I add a quick comment? Sorry, I'm signed in on our chapters, so it's not letting me raise my hand.
You are good. Go for it, Lindsay.
But I just wanted to piggyback a little bit off of what Heather and Dan were saying, and that, it doesn't have to be an event, but it also can be something where you're almost building an event out that can be shared easily, and then utilizing platforms from partners. As an example, like one of the DIYs that I've run, we're partnered with CrossFit, where we've created a community workout that they're almost pitching for us, to where whatever CrossFit gym decides to participate, we already have the social media postings for them. We have videos, we have emails, we have art cards. And then, so it's kind of this like paint by numbers that they can have that kit ready. And then we just have a general classy page for everyone to participate. But that's something, to your comments, we could also look at doing that as, like, let's say it's a lemonade stand where, again, we provide some branding, we provide some messaging, and then that can be shared at different chapter leader meetings, where you're having the idea and then it's almost passive what's happening on the back end. You're just kind of putting it out and getting it in the right platform and having a bigger reach that way.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Thanks for sharing, Lindsay. Any other thoughts or discussion topics that anyone has pressing on their hearts and minds right now? If not, we will let you all go enjoy the rest of your Wednesday.
Actually, I had a question about the DIY for the group, if that's okay.
Go for it, Alex.
I just wanted to maybe get some brief counsel or advice for maybe what some other chapters do when they're trying to fundraise by, micro fundraising through things like localized shirts or hats or original art and how those can best be, you know, uh, displayed and I guess you know, marketed through the chapter and through the FFB.
This is Erin. I'm gonna jump in. Alex, there's quite a few different ways you can attack that specific concept. For example, if it was a shirt design that is maybe through, you know, a specific link or an online retailer, that would fall perfectly under portion of proceeds in DIY. So that's, you know, just kind of already set up. You and I could talk about how to best organize that. As far as displaying, you're open to display anything on the local level. Or if it was, you know, something smaller, like, you know, a few pieces of art, I would say definitely have a conversation with your community manager of how you can best really get that in front of people. This is your network to get in front of as well. You know, it's of course the foundation's network, but it's also your network. So that's always, you know, small scale and large scale. There's definitely different ways to attack it. And, you know, speaking of Tim Smith, you could always bring back Eye of the Beholder, go a little bit, you know, large scale, which, you know, was a national fundraiser for years, with artists from all over the country. So there's definitely, like, there's almost too many ways to answer that question.
Right.
But Adam, I see your hand is raised as well. So if you have any advice, please feel free to jump in.
Audio now muted.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
So these are all like great ideas, good information, but I have a question and something that I've brought up in the past and I've talked to about with our community manager and with Nathan. How do we get the foundation to help promote all of this stuff? I mean, nothing's being marketed about our events. The only thing that's happened is there's been an e-blast that I recently saw in the July update from the foundation. And one of the biggest challenges we have is getting people to our events and getting the word out. And FFB is really not supporting us in that. So what do we need to do to make that happen? And I mean, I know we used to have the chapter pages and those are gone away. And we were told submit information to marketing, which we've done, and nothing's really being posted anywhere.
Adam, is this a DIY specific event or are you
No,
talking?
this is in general. This is about promoting events. I mean, for instance, we have our Vision Walk kickoff coming up, and nothing except one e-blast that I've seen, which was a mention in the July update, has been talked about. And again, we have no social media anymore because that's been taken away.
Yeah, there's definitely adjustments across the country, and I encourage you to keep having those conversations on the local level. All I can answer on the DIY side is that DIY events can get certain levels of promotion, and that I have conversations with volunteers based off of that. I know what you're addressing is a bit of a larger pain point, so that is just going to be a continued conversation. But Alex, I want to circle back before we go to Dan. Do you feel like your question was covered? I think maybe
Sort of. I mean, I think that Shannon and I will have a much longer conversation about this because I mean, one of the things, like, you know, the idea of micro fundraising or having smaller community events. One of the better ways to do that or communicate through that is through social media. So we'll just have to, you know, find different ways to make that work. But I'm happy to work with I'm happy to work with Shannon and get that moving forward.
Yeah, awesome. Need a plug too. There's a new social media toolkit in the DIY toolkit. So there's some tips in there for you there.
Okay. That's wonderful. Thank you.
Of course.
Dan, I noticed your hand up. Did you have another comment or question?
Yeah, just a quick one here on the topic of promotion. I don't really know how truly effective this is as a promotion avenue, but do keep in mind, everybody, that we, Foundation Fighting Blindness, we are a sponsor of the Blind and Beyond radio show. And as such, they're pretty liberal with first of all, we get a 15, 20-minute segment at least every month. That's the foundations. And if you want to come on and talk about what you're doing in your area, you want to talk about a fundraiser you've got going, that sort of thing, just talk to Chris Adams. He's the one who schedules who the speaker will be each month for the foundation. But they're always, they're always pretty liberal there at Blind and Beyond Radio Show with letting somebody call in when they're a sponsor like the foundation and saying, I just want to let people out there know that we've got such and such going on this weekend. Again, I don't know just what their reach is and how many people you would reach by it, but it's at least one quick option you can go, and it's free. Well, it's free, and that we are a sponsor of the show, so we've got that they'll let us promote things on there. So just remember that, keep that in mind. It's one way of getting the word out.
Great.
Dan, on that note, Bailey, I don't know who's responsible. I guess it'd be Chris. I don't know if anybody from the foundation ever listens to the show. I appreciate it. I think it's great that they're doing it. But as I understand it, they produce the commercial for the foundation. I think the foundation should probably take control of that because it's way off brand for the foundation. It's not
Plus it's kind of
not who we
hokey.
are.
It's kind of a hokey thing too, isn't it, Tim?
Very hokey. Yeah.
I think it could be done a little more.
Yes.
Yeah, a little more professionally there. So yeah, and I don't know why they wouldn't let us do that if we wanted to produce our own. So anyway, that's for Chris to look into.
Yeah.
Jill, what do you got?
I was going to recommend too, in ways to promote, we send the e-blasts out on a pretty regular cadence whenever we're doing local chapter activities. But how do we reach beyond the audience we already have is the big question. How do we expand our reach in the community? And for that, I have found it very effective. And I know, Adam, in the LA chapter, you partner with a lot of other nonprofits in the community. Reaching out to them and asking if they'll include a plug for it in their monthly e-news about, what's going on in the community. I know Lighthouse and other organizations send out those monthly emails, and they will include community partner information if you get in touch with them about it. So whoever maintains those relationships, it would be great if that person in your chapter can reach out to them. Another great avenue are community calendars and places like Eventbrite, posting things on there, especially for folks who live in the community. Think about where you go to find out what's going on and see if you can submit your events there.
That's a great plug, Jill. And there's so many of those are free to utilize too, and they're super simple. You fill out a quick form, and then next thing you know, you check back a week or so later and they've posted it up there. So no, those are fantastic plugs. Thank you. All right, great. Well, I know we are close to the top of the hour. Just as a reminder, our next call will be on, double checking the date, August 20th of next month, August 20th. And I believe next month we're going to be doing a little bit of a financial recap of how things went, how we closed our fiscal year, and giving you all a little bit of a financial update. But I will let you know if anything changes with that topic. But as of now, that is what we are slated to chat about. But everyone stay cool outside. If it's anything like it is here in Maryland, it is hot today. And enjoy the rest of your week.
Thanks.
Thank you, Bailey.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.